Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Stone Chapel Podcast. My name is David Capes. Now, this podcast is created and produced by the good people at the Lanier Theological Library and Learning Center in Houston, Texas. My guest today is Dr. Nicole Martin. She's the new president and CEO of Christianity Today. Now, that's a publication that was started back in the 1950s, about 70 years old now, by Dr. Billy Graham, and it's had a big influence on Christianity in the West, especially evangelical Christianity. Dr. Martin is coming to the Lanier Theological Library February 27th through March 1st, 2026 for a lecture weekend. She'll be speaking on the topic of surrendered leadership. What is that, you say? Well, keep on listening to this podcast because we're going to give you a preview of what is going to be coming out on that particular evening. So today, wife, mother, scholar, leader, writer, and president of Christianity Today, Dr. Nicole Martin, here on the Stone Chapel Podcast.
Hi, I'm Nicole Martin, and I'm the president and CEO of Christianity Today.
Nicole Martin, Nicole, great to see you. Welcome to the Stone Chapel Podcast.
Thank you, David. It's great to be on with you.
I'm delighted that we can do this. You're going to be coming here to the Lanier Theological Library, giving a lecture in a few weeks, and we want people to know a little bit about you and a little bit about what you're going to be talking about. And those who can will get here, and those who can't can find us on the internet. So, all right, let's start this way. For those who don't know Nicole Martin, we know now that you're president of Christianity Today. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
Thank
We're
you.
so pleased for you and for the publication and its brand and all that it means. But for those who don't know you, who is Nicole Martin?
Oh, that's such a big question.
Yeah.
I am, first and foremost, a child of God, a child of Pastor Leonard Massey. My dad was a pastor for many years, and Dr. Elfrida Massey, who worked in school systems and as superintendent for many years. I'm the mom of Addison and Josephine Martin. Addie is 13. She'll be 11 by the time we come together. And my husband, Mark, and I have been married for 15 years. I live in Maryland, right outside of Baltimore, and I currently serve Christianity Today, located in Wheaton, and it has been an honor and a joy to be able to assume this position at this time.
Yeah. And it's a great publication, a great history. Started back in the 1950s. It's almost as
right.
old as I am, I think. I'm not sure. But started in the 1950s, and Billy Graham was a big part of that
That's
and
right.
such a great influence. And it's been led well over the years. And,
Mhm.
and Christianity in today and
Yeah.
Christianity in the United States has been through a lot since the
Yes.
1950s. And Christianity Today has been there as a guide and as a friend for so many.
Yeah.
The only thing wrong with Christianity Today is I don't think you've ever published anything that I've written. So we've got to
We
work on
must
that.
correct that.
We must correct that
We
soon. We
must.
must correct that
Yes.
soon.
Yes.
All right, you're coming to the Lanier Theological Library, and you're going to be here February 27 and 28,
Yes.
2026, and you're going to be lecturing in our Stone Chapel in a lecture entitled Surrendered Leadership, which is a fascinating title.
Yeah.
And just to say, let's say I'm trying to find, I've got your books here somewhere. I've got some of them. I don't have them all.
Praise
But
God.
you've got several books out, and this is one of them called Nailing
right.
It,
That's
which is
right.
great. Why Successful Leadership Demands Suffering
Yeah.
and Surrender.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're probably going to be talking about some stuff that you wrote here, right?
I think so.
Another great book, which is fairly recent, I think,
Yeah.
Made to Lead,
Mm-hmm.
which is Empowering Women for Ministry. That's the subtitle to it.
Yes. That's
So
right.
you've been writing about leadership for a while. Let's talk a little bit about what are you going to be doing when you come here at the Lanier Theological Library?
One of the things that we will do together is to really redefine what leadership looks like from a biblical lens. It's so easy for us to get caught up in more secular principles of what we think it means to lead. The world would suggest that in order to lead, you need power. In order to lead, you need deep influence. In order to lead, you need to be willing to stand up against the people that you lead at times. And while that may be true in some aspects and contexts, it is not always the only narrative or definition for leadership according to Scripture. And what we have seen over the years is we've kind of assumed that we can have the resurrection victory of our lives and of our leadership without understanding the cost of the cross. And I would suggest that we lead our best when we recognize that crucifixion always comes with reward and that resurrection always comes at a cost. There are some things that we will have to crucify in ourselves, in our lives, in our behaviors, in our patterns, in order for Christ to be resurrected, to be alive and well within us. And in order for us to walk in that victory, whether we like it or not, and I wish there were another way, but biblically speaking, you cannot walk in victory without recognizing what needs to be surrendered. So that's why this title is so challenging to each of us, because you cannot live a life with Christ without being willing to sacrifice and surrender things so that Christ might be redeemed, resurrected, and glorified through us.
So you're finding this in the words of Scripture, and
Yes.
I take it the example of Christ as well.
Yes, absolutely. And Jesus is the example, and then he speaks the example as well. So he is the embodiment of what it looks like to lead. He, gets down on his hands and knees and washes the feet of the disciples, and he says, this is what real leadership looks like, my paraphrase. In John 12, he tells them after doing great miracles, unless a seed falls to the ground, it remains but one seed. But if it falls, if it dies, then it comes for the fruit of many. And then he embodies that upon the cross. Not death as martyrdom and death as defeat, but a willing sacrifice so that we might live. And then John goes on further and says, the same Spirit that rose Jesus from the dead lives in you. So if I sacrifice, for example, my ego, if I say in the words of Jesus, this is my will, God, but not my will. Your will be done. If I'm willing to lay these things down at the cross, what I'll find is a resurrected sense of ego that is rooted deeply in the person of Jesus Christ. And then I can lead from a place of love and not from a place of competition or defeat or deficiencies of some kind. It's a powerful thing to really reconsider what the cross and resurrection looks like as it relates to our sense of leadership.
Yeah. The leadership studies, I'm trying to remember when I saw the first PhD in leadership.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all these books about
That's right.
leadership, I think they started in the 70s or 80s. I may be misremembering.
Yeah.
As this goes.
I think you're right.
But it's been around for a while, and there
Mhm.
are some places where you can get a PhD in leadership,
That's right.
but they all seem to be saying pretty much the same thing, and what you're saying now is not exactly it.
I was wrestling with that when I first started writing this book. I did do my doctorate of ministry in leadership, redemptive leadership, and I kept thinking, why is it that what I'm reading about leadership doesn't always line up with what the Word says? And I think part of this is, we take a silver bullet approach to leadership. If it works well for that person in that context, then it's got to work for
Mhm.
everybody in every context, and that's just not true.
Yeah.
Secondly, I think we discount the servant leadership of Christ because it's not fun. Who wants to lay down their lives? Who wants to sacrifice? We would all prefer to have followers that would obey us and stay with us till the end. Jesus didn't have that. He called a bunch of followers who all betrayed him at some point or another. So if that's what the picture of leadership looks like, nobody wants to sign up for that. So we create other narratives. Well, you can get millions of followers and let that be the marker of your success. You can build $1 million business and let that be your marker of success. But Jesus comes along and says, that's not all. It's not invalid. It's not that it's not real. It's just that it's not all. And when we really tap into the cross, I believe this not just for leadership, but for life. When we really examine the cross and what cruciform living looks like, we will find that there is life in death. That when I die to the principles of this world that often cause me to hurt other people to get ahead, when I die to those things, I find life in Christ. And again, going back to the Gospel of John, not just life, but life and that more abundantly. So what we crave requires a sacrifice. And if we are willing to lay it down before the cross, we will live more abundant lives and lead in more abundant ways than we ever have before.
So is this leadership for a business? Is it for a parachurch organization? Is it for the church? I mean, will it work in every situation?
Yeah. I wrestled with that. I remembered when I first started writing, the core question is, who are you writing to?
Mm,
I think this is leadership for anyone who is weary of old ways of leading, who wants to see new results in leadership, and for those who are trying to adapt to new leadership styles, either because they're just getting started or they've been in it for a while. And for me, I intentionally do not define the context of leadership because I don't think Jesus does that. Jesus speaks to the disciples as leaders, and they were fishermen.
mm,
Some might say in that context, a fisherman is not a leader. A fisherman only works with fish. But he speaks to them
yeah.
as leaders. He speaks to the woman at the well, and people would say she's not a leader. But then she goes on and tells the whole town about a man who told her everything that she had ever done. So I don't want to discount those whom God would call to influence the lives of others. And that's why I think leadership is what we make it and what we decide.
Yeah. So it sounds like almost anybody can become a leader. I mean, if you're talking about fishermen,
Yes.
woman at the well, you're not talking necessarily about people who are already there at some
Yes,
echelon.
that's right.
These are people who are everyday people.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. So in Christianity today, as the leader of Christianity today now, have you had a
Mhm.
chance to try out some of this already?
Yes. And, I think most people who have ever written something would say it's a different reality to conceptualize something in your words and then to try it on with your works.
Mm,
But by the grace of God, we are living in a time that requires a different way of showing up, not showing up with prowess and elitism and an assumption of knowing all of the details, but
mm,
showing up with humility, showing up with a desire to know and to learn. Leading CT has been a privilege, even for the few weeks that I've been in this role, not just because of the organization itself, but because of the people. We have some of the most thoughtful, prolific writers that I can think of on our team. We
mm,
have organizational leaders in our operations that are faithful to God. So it's been an honor for me to come alongside and not say, here's where we're going, but to ask, what do you need? How can I serve you? How can I show up best? And that does require a dying. It requires a dying to my own sense of how things need to be. And it requires a desire to say, God, what do you want this to be? I
mm,
described to someone recently, they were like, how's it going? I said, this is one of the greatest faith walks I have ever taken in my life.
mm,
But
mm,
what an opportunity for a leader in a position of influence to surrender it before Jesus and say, God, not my organization, but yours. Not
mm.
my will asserted on these people, but your will for your people. And that's what I get to do every day. I get to say, God, show us, in the words of Henry Blackaby, God, show us where you're working and help us to join you there. And that's truly a privilege.
Yeah. I love the way you said that in resurrection, there is a cost. I've
Yes,
never thought about that before, but I think you're exactly right. Would you sort of parse that out a little bit for us? What does that mean? Because we think of resurrection as the reward. We
that's
think of
right. That's right.
resurrection as life and all
Yeah.
the good stuff. Now all the good stuff comes. But in fact, as you said, in leadership and maybe in other parts of life, resurrection
Yes.
does come at a cost.
Yes, yes, it does. In simple ways, it shows up in our vision. We step into positional leadership, leading an organization or an elder board or a small group, and you have this vision. We are going to be a people who have this type of culture and achieve these goals. Well, if we were to assume that we could just reach those goals without any hardship, conflict, or trials, then we would be deceived and we would be ready to forsake those things when the troubles come. Resurrection comes with a cost, and what I mean is we get to those goals through sacrifice. We achieve those milestones and we create that structure and that culture by giving up some things along the way. And we've got to be intentional and have our eyes wide open on what that takes. But I also think the joy is once you recognize the cost of resurrection, then you really celebrate it. It reminds me of the story of Jesus healing the woman of many demons. And he says something in my paraphrase that she will rejoice. She knows the cost of her deliverance. And I know I'm butchering the story, but Jesus is recognizing, acknowledging the fact that those who have been delivered from much will also own and recognize their deliverance in a different way. It's the widow who gives of her little, and Jesus recognizes her. The cost of what she has given up results in great reward. And when we think back on our own lives, I think we would have to admit the times when you had to work hard to get something are the times when you appreciated it the most.
Mm-hmm.
And God forbid the day that we assume our resurrection victory is free. God forbid the day that we assume our salvation is free. No, our salvation came with a cross, and that was a cost. And our resurrection victory comes with the cost of the cross. And as long as I can keep that in mind, I'll never take it for granted.
So how was your book done out in the market? Yeah, nailing it. Why successful leadership demands suffering and surrender. How's
Yeah.
it done?
It's a hard question because, according to the standards of the world, I did get my one little screenshot like a week after it released that said top new released. It was only for just a few minutes. I got a screenshot before it went away. So,
Well, good.
is that something to celebrate? Sure. I think we're still tracking to see. Books
Yeah.
are interesting seeds to plant in the soil of the kingdom. Sometimes you see the fruit right away and you recognize, oh my goodness, people are buying this. What a wonderful thing. But sometimes the seed takes a while to germinate. So I think I am grateful for those who have purchased it. I'm grateful for opportunities like these when I get to talk about it. But I'm still trusting that God will use this book to produce harvest in people's lives that maybe I can't see or calculate right now.
Well, the success, it will come along, I think, with your continued persistence and
Yes.
describing this to people over and over on podcasts,
Yeah.
and speaking opportunities about the nature of leadership,
You're
what
right.
it really looks like, what it really costs,
Yes.
and those kinds of, rather than thinking, okay, now I'm on top of the world because I'm CEO of this
Yep.
thing or that,
Yep.
and my brain must be somehow anointed that everything I think is going to be a good idea. But
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
seldom is that the case. Usually
Very
we
seldom.
have one good idea among about 5,000 that are not so good.
Uh-huh. That's
So
right.
just figuring out that, and then, like you said, surrendering that, and then really
Yes.
truly listening to the
Mm-hmm.
people that you're working with, who
That's right.
are, in your case, brilliant writers,
Yes.
brilliant people in terms of looking at culture and what's happening.
Right.
I'm just so excited that you're going to be here and you're going to be speaking to us, and we're going to be blessed and encouraged and instructed and corrected as needed by you in this particular time. Dr. Nicole Martin, thanks for being with us today on the Stone Chapel podcast.
Thank you so much, David.
Thanks again to Dr. Nicole Martin for being with us here today on the Stone Chapel podcast. She is going to be at the Lanier Theological Library in Houston, February 27 and 28 to give a lecture. I hope you can be here for that, but if not, then you can find us a bit later, perhaps on our YouTube channel. You just go to YouTube, look for Lanier Theological Library. We have a great channel there, lots of great resources there for you. Now, the Stone Chapel podcast is part of the Church Leaders Podcast Network. We are dedicated to providing resources for church leaders and pastors who need just a little bit of help now and then, and as they're leading their churches. So I hope you'll find some help with that. If you want more information about that, you can go to ChurchLeaders.com/podcast network. Our editor and producer is Kathy Capes. Hannah Allen also helps in production. On the Church Leaders podcast side, then we have Jessica Mauser and Jana Firestone. They're great assistants and helpers in making this podcast work. Phil Keggy provides us with our music, our intro, and our outro music. Thanks, Phil. Well, please share this podcast with other people. You may have friends. We hope you'll subscribe and you won't miss an episode. Until next time, I'm David Capes. Thanks for listening.